It is important through genetics to figure out where people came from because they don't look like they belong. That is a funny way of saying it because they were there, they lived there, and they did belong. But we have, as modern human beings, a preconceived notion about how the world should look like. Well, the mummies from China don't look like they should be in China. They look like they should be in Denmark or Ireland or northern Germany because they look like people from over there. So what are these guys doing so many hundreds, thousands of miles to the east? DNA steps up to the plate and they can tell us where they came from. Archaeology steps up to the plate and says when they may have come over. Combine the two, you got the family history and the kit and caboodle that they lived in. What are these people doing there? So long ago, well before the opening of the Silk Road, which is dated to 138 BC, these mummies date back, some of them, to 2000 BC. When people find archaeological remains, including mummies, we were limited, if you want, to the archaeological record, the pots, the gold, the clothing, maybe some artifacts in addition to that, wooden carvings, maybe the style of the tomb, and if there was a settlement nearby, the architecture, but basically the archaeology of. We were limited to that in order to tell the story of who the people were, where they came from, how long ago they lived. We are, in our bodies, the carrier of an archive, a genetic archive. It tells, if you were to study me, where I'm from, and if I studied you, where you're from. And there's no lying about it. In your books, you might say you're from another place, but your genetics will tell us exactly where you're from. We all carry in us, males and females, DNA that comes from our maternal line, through our mothers and grandmothers. So why is that important? For starters, it allows people who study that aspect of genetics in any individual to retrace the history of that particular person through the mother's lineage. The female mummies were mostly of local origin. However, there's another type of testing, the Y chromosome testing, which is the male line. The males came from parts further west, not necessarily Ireland, but places like Iran, maybe towards parts of Turkey. The mom's side and the grandmother's side is from the Tarim Basin, and the father's and the grandfather's side were moving in with their sheep, with their herds, slowly but surely, and having families, living their daily lives. So that is an additional aspect that the archaeological part to some extent corroborates but doesn't tell in that great a detail, and that's the wonderful thing about DNA testing. Scientists recently investigated the DNA, the genetic makeup of Neanderthal people, and they are going back several tens of thousands of years. So they went in and extracted DNA from a bone that belonged to a Neanderthal that's probably about 25 to 30,000 years old. So you've got some room to play with these mummies. They're youngsters compared to the DNA from a Neanderthal.